Hello and welcome to the AI Shift. I'm Scott. Today I wanted to tell you a little bit about something that I really did not expect could be possible using AI, and this is going back about 12 months now. I had a great success 15 months ago and completed that task and came across another hurdle. As I was working with some of the other parts of the data, I realized that something fundamentally had changed with that data set as well. I'm in the mapping business, so to speak. It's my world. I studied geography in college. It's what I know really well, so I bring my expertise in that. And I was looking at this new data set and realizing they've standardized the shapes on this map. Now, without getting too technical, because I know mostly out there aren't the map nerds that I am, when you create boundaries, you have choices that you can make. You can make them very generalized, or you can make them highly detailed. For many years, the data source I've been using provided highly detailed. And that was what I had come to expect, and it really was valuable and useful for my product. Generalized was actually not going to do the job. But I don't know much about making these files look better. I didn't create them. There are enormous quantities of them. I'm talking hundreds of thousands of files to work with. So there's no way I could do anything, even if I knew what to do by hand. So I took the generalized idea of what my problem was to an AI model. And I could not believe my eyes. Obviously, AI had a couple of months to mature since my last exposure to it. Could not believe when it started out with a couple of quick questions confirming that I was saying what it was thinking, etc. And then it just spit out this code. Well, I'm not a programmer. I'm an ideas guy. It told me what to do with the code. I kind of understood, because it is my world, that there's these files that we work with. And the ones that we use in the mapping world that I use, they're called shapefiles. The shapes had lost their clarity in the version that I'm using. And I know that there's probably a way to make them look better. And it found the way instantly. It knew exactly what I was talking about. It knew how to approach the project, and it knew how to tear it into pieces, if you will, or break it up so that it was manageable, because it understood, without me telling it, that we're talking about hundreds of thousands of files that need to be managed in this process. So not only could it tackle it, but it could give astonishingly accurate and beautiful results. Let me show you this example here. On this first map, you're actually seeing both layers. You're seeing the large, chunky, ugly blocks, the ones with the stripes on them. That's what I was given in the beginning of the process. And I knew it was not going to be accurate enough and readable enough for my application. I knew there was something more refined than that. And that's what I went to AI to ask for help with. And in literally 5 to 7 minutes of work, it identified the problem, and 10 minutes later, I had a working sample of exactly what could be the better result. And this map here shows you how clean and accurate these boundaries could be. What we're talking about here is the generalizing that happens on the edges of things where water is involved. When I'm looking at the data on my maps, the color coding needs to match the shoreline. Going out into the water is not helpful. It's misleading, it's confusing, it's undermining the value of my product. It's flat out not acceptable. Clearly, if I had no other choice, I would have to accept it. But I have other choices now, because AI came in and rescued me. It knew exactly what to do. It knew what other files to get. It knew how to do this thing about, I don't know, trimming or dissolving or whatever it is, doesn't matter. It walked me through step by step exactly what to do, what to verify, how to expand it to do larger passes at once so that it wouldn't get stuck, but it would get more work done at one time. And within let's say maybe 3 on and off work days, the entire country with hundreds of thousands of files was processed to this high standard. It didn't just trim along ocean fronts. It was able to find docks and piers. It was able to find crisp edges around lakes and ponds. I was astonished as to the level of specificity and clarity and precision that it brought. And it polished my product. It made me look better. It made me more confident. And that's really the power of AI. Could I sit down right now and repeat those steps exactly and get the same results? I'd have to start again and remember a little bit about what I asked AI in the first place. And what's really interesting about AI is if you save your work, so to speak, if you save your projects, it will remember exactly what it did. So I won't have to retrain it from the very beginning. You won't have to remember as much of these little details that may not be something you have to memorize for your work day in and day out. It frees up your mind to think about the things that are more about the quality of the product, the quality of the experience for your customer, spending time with your customers instead of on the nitpicky details. It also just frees you up to go do other things. I was able to step away for 10, 15 minutes at a stretch while it processed large chunks of files and go take a break, work on something else, get a fresh set of eyes on a project I hadn't seen for a little bit, go for a walk. So that's another thing about how we can use this, is it's actually doing work for us kind of in the background sometimes on these bigger tasks. I wanted to share that with you because it was just such a revelation. You know, I mentioned in the last video something that happened to me while I was getting to a certain point in this project. It had happened again. It was several months later, so I think some of my friends who had called probably thought it was just a fluke. I had to call them again. I had to say, the world keeps changing. It keeps getting better. It was a very exciting time for my business and for my realization about what could possibly lie ahead. And now this is integrated in my product, and there are many more things I've been able to accomplish to integrate into my product. And my list of possibilities is longer than ever, which just means work is even more interesting than it's ever been. Tomorrow, we'll talk a little bit about how you might be able to structure your project, a thought process that you could use so that you can have a way to try this out on your own. So in the comments below, why don't you tell me a project or two you've been wondering whether or not AI could tackle it with you. I'll be here again tomorrow, and I hope you will be too.